Of rising food costs, local farmers are producing less amid a looming food crisis. Melissa Lopez spoke to agricultural groups to find out what they need to do to raise production.
Consumers are running out of cheap food options. Pork prices have remained high since last year. Chicken and vegetable prices are not far behind, and so is fish. Even galunggong, previously the so-called poor man's fish, now retails for 240 pesos a kilogram in wet markets. The Fisheries Bureau says supply is short for the season and expensive fuel for fishing boats is making matters worse.
Less fishing days because of the weather, so less production. Mataas mga inputs ngayon, lalo na yung fuel Pataas ng pataas. Nakikiusap kami sa ating mga mangingisda na lumabas at mangisda, no? Meron pa naman tayong andyan lang yung isda, kailangan nating hulihin.
Despite the high price, farmers and fishermen continue to struggle with low incomes and high input costs. The group Pamalakaya says its members continue to lose out on imported supply, leaving an even smaller room for local fisherfolk to compete. The group held a protest outside the Agriculture Department main office on Wednesday to reject the importation of nearly 40,000 metric tons of fish from China. The NGO Philippine Rural Reconstruction Movement says food security and stable food prices must be on top of the incoming administration's agenda.
How high is high? Top 3 definitely. Food an issue of national security. Kaya natuwa ako actually kay Professor Carlos. Sinabi niya, "Uy, food security is part of national security." When you say that, ay siyempre government, top na kanyang responsibility is national security, and that is not just defense of territory, not just internal security, but the security of people na hindi magugutom.
The Fisheries Bureau says the government wants to empower local fisherfolk for a bigger haul, but would need over 9 billion pesos to make it happen.
We should only be importing the fish that we cannot produce. Di ba? Gaya ng salmon. Mayroon kaming na-measure dyan na figures. 164,000 metric tons of fish waiting to be cast in the municipal water. Kailangan lang natin hulihin yun. I-capacitate natin ang municipal fishing.
Anticipation is high on who will be the next Agriculture Secretary to chart the path.
Pagdating sa food security, you need a combination of public and private. Ang taong ang sikmura ay sinabi, from hungry to angry.
Melissa Lopez, CNN Philippines.
Coming up, the country records more than a dozen new cases of the more transmissible Omicron subvariants. And who among the members of the Marcos family will reside in Malacanang? Details next on Newsnight, where we go above and beyond headlines. Welcome back. The country reports new cases of the more transmissible Omicron subvariants. The health department logs 6 new BA.5 and 10 more BA.2.12.1 cases. These were detected across Metro Manila, Cagayan Valley, Calabar Zone, and Bicol, as well as Eastern and Western Visayas and Northern Mindanao. The DOH is checking the travel history of these cases and how they were exposed to the virus. The DOH says that uptick in cases cannot be attributed to the subvariants just yet.
Hindi po directly related ang mga bahagyang pagtaas ng kaso sa pagpasok nitong bagong variant. Ang ating genetic sequencing, we cannot test everybody. No? So having said that, we cannot really be very certain na itong driver ng ating infection sa ngayon would be the subvariants. Although we are assuming that the subvariants are here and causing this transmission also.
In Metro Manila, 11 areas have seen an increase in cases in the past 2 weeks, but Vergere says it is not yet time to upgrade to Alert Level 2. The capital region remains under the lowest alert level until the end of the month. Justice Secretary Menardo Guevara advises Cebu Governor Gwen Garcia to reach out to the Interagency Task Force about her mask mandate. Guevara says this will help clear the air between the executive and the provincial government. He insists Garcia's directive on making mask wearing optional outdoors, even if it becomes an ordinance, remains inconsistent with the national regulation. The outgoing Justice Chief points out Garcia can request to modify the existing mask mandate. He also says Cebu could be a test case to check if optional mask wearing outdoors will not lead to a surge in infections. More diplomats pay a courtesy call on President-elect Bongbong Marcos in his Mandaluyong headquarters. Among them, the Finnish ambassador to the Philippines, who says Finland hopes Marcos will condemn Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Marcos had previously committed to forging an independent policy on the war in Eastern Europe, even if the Philippines voted in favor of a United Nations resolution that explicitly condemns the invasion.
The Philippines has been in the group of countries condemning the Russian aggression. And what I convey to the President-elect is that I hope that his administration will continue to appreciate and respect this approach from the Philippine side in the future as well.
Finland is seeking membership to the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, or NATO, in a bid to secure its border with Russia. Another envoy who visited Marcos is the ambassador of Norway, who said the European country will continue its role in the Bangsamoro peace process. Marcos also welcomed the ambassadors of Hungary, Romania, and South Africa. Well, 2 weeks before the inauguration of President-elect Marcos, his sister shares that the family has yet to finalize who will reside in Malacanang. Asked if former First Lady Imelda Marcos will join the first family in the palace, here's what Senator Amy Marcos had to say.
Ewan ko, hindi pa napapag-usapan kasi yun nga, ang importante, yung maahon namin, ang pangalan namin, ang apelyido namin, yung legacy ng tatay ko, mabalikan at tignan ng maigi. Yun ang importante. Yung Malacanang, ang yabang namin pero sa totoo lang, nanggaling na kami dun Labis-labis na yung paninirahan namin dun.
With a rise in the prices of fuel and other commodities, the lawmaker says public expectation of her brother's administration is, quote, nerve-wracking.
Kumbaga, walang himala. Kahit Marcos na yan, kahit buhay pa yung tatay ko noon na napakagaling at napakasipag, palagay ko mahihirapan talaga. Kaya kinakabahan kami sa inaasahan ng tao na parang kisap mata lang, mawawala na yung taas presyo ng gasolina, yung mamahaling mga pagkain.
The inauguration is set for June 30th at the National Museum. Senator Marcos has confirmed their mother Imelda will attend the event. Just 15 days left until President Rodrigo Duterte steps down from office. On politics as usual, Communications Undersecretary Chris Ablan told me that President Duterte is keeping his hands full with remaining duties and shuttling between Manila and Davao City. No word yet on his next meeting with President-elect Marcos, although Ablan said the incoming and outgoing chief executives are expected to uphold traditional inauguration rites on June 30th. It's not just tradition, it's not just for, it's not really just photo op. No, hindi naman lang siya formality. Why is it so important?
Well, it's very symbolic. No? The palace is the home of our president, and the turnover is very important, that there is a handing over of one administration to another.
Dapat ba talagang magpakita yung incumbent, president and VP sa oath-taking ng incoming or president-elect and VP-elect?
By tradition, yes, no, but they're not required naman by the law or the Constitution to be present.
Outgoing Vice President Leni Robredo will not be able to attend the inauguration of VP-elect Sara Duterte in Davao City this Sunday because of the Naga City Charter Day happening that same weekend. The country's 15th Vice President, Sara Duterte, will take her oath in Davao City this weekend. CNN Philippines will bring you the inauguration as it happens this Sunday, June 19th. Catch our documentary, Inday Sara, the Vice President, and our pre-oath-taking special hosted by senior anchor Rico Hizon from 3 p.m. onwards. More stories to come. BTS members are shifting their attention to solo activities, but a representative assures fans the group is not going on hiatus. And some very nice news for K-pop fans, with a famous act announcing 2 live shows in the country this October. Details when we return.
Land Bank
This is Newsnight on CNN Philippines. For BTS fans, the K-pop sensation announced its members will focus on solo projects for now instead of making music as a group. A BTS representative clarified to CNN that it is not a hiatus and that the group will stay active in different formats. In the festive dinner celebrating their 9th anniversary, BTS leader RM shared he felt lost under the shadow of their global fame and that he wanted time to think. The announcement trended online, with BTS armies sharing their sadness over the news. This netizen tweeted about how they cannot listen to newly released song for youth the same way again. The track is dedicated to BTS fans. Some BTS armies say they understand the decision, calling it a healthy way to recover from burnout in the K-pop industry. And here at home, Filipino Carrots get ready to say the name 17 at the Mall of Asia Arena in Pasay City very soon. The chart-topping K-pop group will return for 2 shows in Manila this October 8th and 9th. The concerts are under 17's Be the Sun World Tour. The boy group is known for hits like Aju Nice and Darling. And that is it for now. Join me again on News.ph at 7 p.m. I'm Pia Ontiveros, and before we go, find out more about this labeling program that will help you choose energy-efficient appliances. The Energy Department says... I'm Pia Ontiveros, and before we go, find out more about this labeling program that will help you choose energy-efficient appliances. The Energy Department says this will help consumers save more electricity in the long run. Let's watch this.
The focus that we're doing is behavioral. But if there is an opportunity for people to invest, of course, investing in light-emitting diode lighting, having inverter-type technologies, particularly in cooling products such as refrigerators and air conditioners, those are a good start in terms of managing and making your households more energy efficient. The Philippine Energy Labeling Program, or the PELP, is the mandatory energy labeling and rating system for energy-consuming products in the country. At present, it covers various lighting products, refrigerating appliances, air conditioners, and television sets.
Firefly Electric and Lighting Corporation is one of the leading and established lighting and electrical players in the country today. The implementation of the PELP in the market further reinforces our responsibilities as manufacturers and distributors of energy-consuming products in ensuring that whatever claims we make are validated and tested. The implementation of the PELP will help accelerate our message to the market that not all LED brands are of the same quality or are created equal, and hence deserving of the trust and investment of our consumers.
PELP will benefit both for our company and consumers. It will benefit for us because this is in line with our direction. PELP will promote educating the public and the importance in investing in the right and most energy efficient appliance. PELP is very good for both our consumer benefit and our business. If inverter split type demand become bigger, manufacturers will be focusing more on this segment and competing with each other to develop more energy efficient products, so manufacturing costs will be less. I want to say that shifting production to inverter is more profitable for manufacturers as well.
Certainly, it is a good basis for the consumer when choosing which products to buy. And this also helps uplift the reputation of the dealers and retailers, as they will be known to sell reputable and reliable products, resulting in customer loyalty and store preference. Applying PELP to other energy-consuming devices will of course ensure the consumer of more energy-efficient products that will be available in the market. This means that more products will be operating with lower electricity consumption. And this will not only benefit our customer, but also help to protect environment from resources depletion. That's why our company will continue to thrive by producing more and more products that are both cost and energy efficient.
Siguro ang pangunahing tanong ng ating mga consumer, kung mas mahal bang mag-invest na kapag binili natin, may konting kamahalan pa siya sa kasalukuyan, subalit pag ginamit natin to o yung operation nito, nababawi naman natin doon yung ating gastos sa lighting at saka sa cooling products.
This program is brought to you by
This program is rated PG. Program is rated PG.
Radio Philippines Network. Radio Philippines Network. DX General Santos. DX General Santos. Una sa balita. Una sa balita. Musika o kalingawan. Mas tulong pinalakas. Radyo.
Mga balita sa Kapitolyo sa Sarangani.
LGU Sarangani og mga IP community sa Maasim, Kiamba ug Maitom nagperma og kasabutan alang sa kamugnaan og sa pagprotekta sa kinaiyahan sa Mount Busa Local Conservation Area. Samtang Kapitolyo sa Sarangani, LGU Maitom og kabarangayan nagperma pod og kasabutan aron mananom og mga kahoy kilid sa kasapaan ilalom sa Saob Watershed Project. May unang kinatibuk ang pondo nga 103 milyones ka pesos. Sarangani Eagle, gibuyan na balik sa kalasangan. Nagpirmahanay baguhay lang o kasabutan si Governor Steve Chongbian Solon, kauban ang lideres sa makaigsunang lumad sa Makima, kon Maasim, Kiamba ug Maitom, partikularmente ang hutong sa mga blaan, Tibuli ug Manubo. Sa dakong pagtabang ni IPMR Board Member Ben Donato. Sa pagduso ni Board Member Iris Arnado, ang chairperson sa SP Committee on Environment, og suportado sa tanang board member sa pagpanguna sa presiding officer nga si Vice Governor Elmer Di Peralta atol sa usa ka special session, gitagaan og pagtugot si Governor Solon nga pirmahan ang Memorandum of Agreement tali sa mga IP community nga mo'y kasagaran na nimuyo sa kabukirang bahin sa Mount Busa Complex alang sa requisitos sa NCIP kung National Commission on Indigenous People, gitawag nga FPIC o Free Prior and Informed Consent. Gikatakdang kamugnaan sa ordinansa, usa ka provincial ordinance nga magpalig-on sa Mount Busa isip usa ka local conservation area. Una na kining nadeklara sa Sangguniang Panlalawigan sa Sarangani pinaagi sa resolusyon. Solon. Kini ang nakitang pamaagi sa pamunuan ni Governor Solon aron padayong maprotektahan ang Mount Busa sa hulga sa pagpamutol og kahoy, pagmina, dili mao nga pag-uma og uban pang pagdagmal sa palibot. Sigon ni SCPC Executive Director Kido Ramirez, kuyog ang Mount Busa Conservation Task Force and Technical Working Group usa sa nagunang prioridad ni Congressman-elect Solon inigpungko nini puhon sa Kongreso mao ang pagpasa og balaod nun nga magpasulod sa Mount Busa isip kabahin sa National Protected Landscape sa Pilipinas sa pagsuporta nila Senador Manny o Governor-elect Ruel Pacquiao. Samtang nagpirmahanay po sila Governor Solon, maitom Mayor Brian Reganet o mga barangay kapitanes kadtong mga barangay nga maagyan sa Sao Watershed kauban ang mga Farmer Association aron mananom og mga dagkong kahoy kilid sa kasapaan. Ang Saob Watershed Ecosystem Rehabilitation and Flood Risk Reduction for Increased Resilience Project ang adunay pasiuna nga kinitibuk ang pondo nga 103 milyon ka pesos. Gilang kuban sa 69 milyones ka pesos nga kantidad sa Flood Control o Irrigation Project, 10 milyones ka pesos nga Agro-Forestry Program o uban pang capacity o research development component. Hinius ang pondo kini sa Sulong Kalikasan Program ni Governor Solon o People's Survival Fund National Climate Change Commission. Sa pikas nga bahin gibuhian na balik adlaw nga Lunes, Hunyo 13, ang agila nga nasangit ni aging tuig sa may uway nga bahin sa Salagbanog Falls sa Barangay Tikulab, Maitom. Human sa 18 ka bulan nga pagpabaskog dito sa Davao sa lugar sa Philippine Eagle Foundation sa pakig-alayon sa DNR Region 12, LGU Maitom o Kapitolyo sa Sarangani. Hingpit na nga nakabalik sa eng Pinoyanan sa Mount Busa Maitom area ang Philippine Eagle. Anaa sa 4 kilos, nag-edad 3 hangtod 4 ka tuig. Pagatawgon kini sa pangalan nga Sarangani Eagle. Si Sarangani Eagle og si Sarangani Pride nga unang nakabalik sa kalasangan ni aging mga tuig ang puros tanan na rescue sa lungsod sa Maitom. Timaan sa napreserba pa nga kinaiyahan. Gipamutangan sila o mga tracker aron sayon matultol. Aduna usab mga forest ranger nga gabantay kanila. Dia si SCPC Executive Director Sir Kido Ramirez.
Katong or Memorandum of Agreement na gipirmahan between the provincial government of Sarangani represented by the Governor Isong Jan Solon and the National Commission on Indigenous People in which IPs of Manubo, Sibuli, and Blaan of Maitom, Kiamba, and Maasim. Kailan nato i-conserve ang area. Kaya naman, tungod lagi nga sa presence sa Philippine Eagle, isa kini sa mga critical endangered species, in the presence of that animal or that species, so it calls for immediate conservation and protection sa area. Akong panawagan tawhan sa Makima, ato ang panaligdan ang ato ang kinaiyahan.
Mga balita sa Kapitolyo sa Sarangani.
Kapayapaan at pagkakaisa, pagtutulungan at pagkakasama, karunungan at kasaganaan, kabutihan at kagandahan.
Ang kinabukasan
bundok hanggang dagat, tuloy-tuloy sa pag-ahon, sabay-sabay na aangat, gaakay ang Panginoon. Kilos abante, paghihok sumulong. Kilos abante, paghihok sumulong.
Kilos abante, paghihok sumulong. Kilos abante, paghihok sumulong. kinabukasan, ating kasalubong, wala nang atrasan, halina't sumulong, sulong sarangani, sulong sarangani, sulong sarangani, sulong, sulong, sulong sarangan.
Radio Philippines Network. Radio Philippines Network. DX General Santos. DX General Santos. Una sa balita. Una sa balita. Musika ug kalingawan. Mas tulong pinalakas. Radyo.
This is CNN Philippines.
From social media to TV ads, we're constantly flooded with the idea that we need to have the perfect body for a happier and healthier life. We even have a name for it, diet culture. This is a misconception that our physical appearance is more important than our well-being. As a result, people may obsess over good and bad food, control our bodies through diets like detoxes, and resort to self-depreciating talk. For some, this can lead to struggles with eating disorders and mental health issues. In this episode, we'll talk more about the impact that diet culture has on Filipinos today. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and welcome to MedTalk Health Talk on CNN Philippines. Weight stigma can be seen as deeply entrenched in our society. Our guests are here today to tell us more about diet culture and how we can best combat it. With us is Dr. Dex Macalintal, who is a lifestyle medicine specialist and registered nutritionist dietitian from Calamba Medical Center. Also with us is Epi Gochanco. He's a clinical psychologist and psychotherapist at the Asian Hospital and Medical Center. Earlier on the show, we mentioned that diet culture refers to the belief that our appearance matters more than our health as well as our well-being. Epi, let's start the conversation with you. Tell us more about this, and why are people talking about it more frequently?
It has something to do with popularity and being accepted by people. Diet culture is actually talking about mostly having a good appearance, but it has to be understood that having a good appearance has something to do with also having to lose weight. But the question is, does this apply to everybody? Everybody has a certain body type, and therefore it isn't as simple as just looking at the appearance. It goes deeper into the psyche, where people also get to feel bad about themselves, their self-blame, there's guilt because they have to be looked at a certain way. And society, and as they say, the social media has something to do with it because they set the standards for how a person should look like.
Diet culture is fueled by the internet and social media, but the food industry has taken advantage of the narrative that skinny is good and heavy is bad. Unfortunately, this often leads to what they call fat talk. Epi, please explain to our viewers what this is and how does it affect people?
If you look at the definition of both, it sounds the same. It's just that in diet culture, the values and beliefs are there, and the fat talk is the behavior, meaning to say they say negative things about how one looks, what they eat, the choices of food. Everything is about negative comments. And see, the problem is if you have so many negative comments, it goes into your psyche again. And these negative comments actually will affect how you see yourself and others. Therefore, it's always negative. And negative thoughts is not good. In fact, if you look at it, most depression comes from negative thoughts.
Diet culture and fat talk is so embedded in society that we might not realize that we are perpetuating it. Epi, what are some examples of fat talk in the Philippines or in Filipino culture?
If you listen to people outside while they eat, some people will say, for example, you're taking too much salt or you're eating too much rice. And, oh, I notice you have more curves now, something like that. So this kind of talking is actually negative comments, and it actually makes other people and oneself feel bad about themselves.
All this talk about beauty, diet, and exercise can significantly impact how we feel about ourselves. Dr. Dex, walk us through how diet culture can affect a person's self-esteem.
Well, we've been talking about fat talk and diet culture. And diet culture is a belief that appearance and body shape are more important than the physiologic, psychological, and general well-being of the person. It is one factor that contributes to disordered eating habits. If a dieter fails to attain his or her ideal look, he or she may feel bad about him or herself, thus affecting their self-esteem, telling themselves, I'm not perfect, I'm not likable, I'm not beautiful, etc. This is essentially a form of degrading oneself. It is very problematic in that it is associated with body dissatisfaction, which may in turn to, again, eating disorders. It would promote unhealthy behaviors around food and with our bodies. And we must remember that the focus should be on developing healthy behaviors when we are going on a diet. And it is not merely about the appearance. And again, this should be addressed in public forums like this one.
Now, eating disorders have become prevalent in young women today. The National Eating Disorders Association estimates that 10 to 20% of women in college suffer from an eating disorder. Dr. Dex, what exactly is an eating disorder? And could you tell us more about how it affects young women today? Give us an idea of what might be going through their minds.
Eating disorders happen when people gets a negative relationship with food. So usually they binge, they purge, and they binge, and they purge again. So what happens here is sometimes people have this negative relationship with food, them being telling that food is enemy. So anong nangyayari dito, nagkakaroon na sila ng hirap ng pagkain, they have difficulty in taking in food, no? And then minsan nagkakaroon sila ng nutrient deficiencies, which then can lead to a lot of diseases in the long run.
Now, a person with an eating disorder might focus on prioritizing low-calorie food, or they might view exercise as an excuse to work off so-called bad foods. Now, in the long run, this can be detrimental to their health. Dr. Dex, walk us through some of the warning signs of an eating disorder and how can loved ones best help these people who are struggling with it?
Number one, hindi na nila gustong kumain. Okay? And they really get this excuse na, mag-exercise naman ako or ipapurge ko din naman ito. So, these are warning signs na medyo hindi maganda. Yung mga pauna na warning sign ay yung hindi nila masyadong gustong kumain. That's actually yung first sign na ayaw nila kumain, parang iniisip nila, that's bad food. And then they label good foods and bad foods, especially nowadays that social media is very rampant on giving us a look on what should be perfect, so to speak. Nakikita natin sa skin nila, they have dry skin already. And then ito na, nagbe-binge, nagpe-purge, and then they really have this negative connotation about food, that food could be their enemy.
For many, losing weight is an unrelenting goal to strive for. How can this quest for the perfect body impact someone's mental health? More on this when we return. We're your partner in healthcare. You're watching MedTalk Health Talk. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez and welcome back to MedTalk Health Talk, where caring is our calling. There are definitely times that we subconsciously encourage today's diet culture. It's the notion that being skinny equates to beauty as well as success, and that eating a certain way will result in the correct size. But this idea sets many people up to feel bad about themselves. Epi, what are some of the negative impacts of diet culture to our mental health?
It does affect how one feels about oneself, as you already mentioned. It affects how it gets generalized in their behavior. For example, if one person says, I shouldn't eat this, I will look bad, and judges himself all the time, what happens, they start also feeling a bit paranoid, thinking that other people might be thinking the same way about them, and then they feel bad all the time. They feel guilt all the time.
Now, a common effect of this is that it changes a person's relationship with their partner, their family, or even their friends. Tell us more about this, Epi.
When they start having this feeling that other people think the same thing about how they think, then they usually have a more stressful relationship with others. It becomes strained, and they start to distance themselves from others, or they isolate themselves because they think that others are also judging them the same way that they judge themselves.
More importantly, it impacts a person's relationship with themselves. Dr. Dex, how does diet culture affect body image, especially among adolescents?
Well, people involved in diet culture believe that being thin, again, is equivalent to being healthy, and being on the other side of the spectrum, meaning being on the heavier side, means that one is unhealthy. This is very evident in people who are restricting their diets too much, adhering to fad diets. For example, yung mga gluten-free diet when he or she is not really intolerant or allergic to gluten. It is also very evident nowadays in online communities, on social media. If a member of a group deviates a little bit on their preaching, it would seem that these other members sort of crucify them for their doing. This promotes a negative relationship with food and to a person's self.
Could you talk more about the vegan diet, more so on the part where how this can affect someone either for the better or some of the limitations that people should understand whenever they make the choice to go for the vegan diet?
Well, the vegan diet involves you eating more of your vegetables, more of your fruits, whole grains, nuts, seeds, and legumes, and you deviate from eating meat. That is the strict vegan diet. So what happens here is that, yes, it has a lot of benefits. Like, for example, you get more vitamins, more nutrients, more micronutrients, more phytonutrients, and at less calories. So you really lose a lot of weight until you have the ideal body weight. The downside here is that if we eat a little less meat, or if we eat no meat at all, we are losing a little bit on the high biologic value of your protein. So this then can lead to your iron deficiency anemia and even megaloblastic anemia.
Dr. Dex, what advice can you give for the viewers who are watching this who are unsure about which diet to take or which diet is best for them? What advice can you give them? And should the viewers also be aware of any risks in a certain diet when it comes to the other facets of the body, the cardiovascular system, the endocrine system, and all the others? How does this equate as a whole?
There is no one-size-fits-all diet. You follow a nutritional guideline. For example, the nutritional guideline for the Filipinos, the first one is to eat a variety of foods every day, because there's no one food that can give you or supply you with the nutrients that you need for the whole day. Don't indulge on fad diets that you've just seen on social media. O nakapayat to, so okay to. Being thin or being on the lighter side doesn't equate to being healthy. So you can be on the heavier side, but you're still healthy. You can be on your normal body weight and you stay healthy. Read only medically verified articles online. There are a lot of accessible journal articles, but since nutrition is an absolute mess, if you're going to check them, make sure that the bias is very low and try to check on the funding of the studies. If you are really at a loss, and what I can do for you, for our viewers, is to lead you to a website called hellodoctor.com.ph, where I am one of their medical editors. Trust only a registered nutritionist dietitian. As you would for your problems with the eye, you go to an ophthalmologist. For problems with your skin, you go to a dermatologist. For problems with your bones, you go to an orthopedic surgeon.
No matter what age, we need to work together to promote a healthier view on food and weight. More on this when we return. Your health is our mission here on MedTalk Health Talk. We'll be right back.